The dumb great mother in her cosmic trance, exploiting for creation's joy and pain, infinity's sanction to the birth of form, accepts indomitably to execute the will to know in an inconscient world, the will to live under a reign of death, the thirst for rapture in a heart of flesh, and works out through the appearance of a soul by a miraculous birth in plasm and gas, the mystery of God's covenant with the night. Once more was heard in the still cosmic mind the Eternal's promise to his laboring force, inducing the world passion to begin. The cry of birth into mortality, and the opening verse of the tragedy of time. Out of the depths, the world's buried secret rose. He read the original ukaz kept back in the locked archives of the Spirit's crypt, and saw the signature and fiery seal of wisdom on the dim power's hooded work, who builds in ignorance the steps of light. A sleeping deity opened deathless eyes. He saw the unshaped thought in soulless forms, new matter pregnant with spiritual sense, mind dare the study of the unknowable, life its gestation of the golden child. In the light, flooding thought's blank vacancy, interpreting the universe by soul signs, he read from within the text of the without. The riddle grew plain and lost its catch obscure. A larger luster lit the mighty page. A purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void, he saw throned the omniscience supreme. I started reading on page 75 from line 49, and I read to the end of the section. So we can look at these lines now. This is about King Asvapati, At the very beginning of the canto, the first line says, "This knowledge first he had of time-born men." It means King Aswapati was the first human being, the first person born in time who gained the secret knowledge which Sri Aurobindo has shared with us in the previous canto, the secret knowledge. So this knowledge, King Aswapati was the first human being to have it. And here is described on page 74 and top of page 75, something about that secret knowledge. And if we read on from line 49, then we learn a little more about this secret knowledge. Will you start, Kamala?
The down great mother in a cosmic trance, exhorting for creation's joy and pain, infinity's sanction to the birth of form, accepts
indomitably
to execute the will to know in an unconscious world, the will to live under a region of death, the first for rapture in the heart of flesh, and works out through the appearance of the soul, by a miraculous birth in plasm and death. The mystery of God's
covenant
with the night.
Thank you. So this is what King Aswapati is seeing. The dumb great mother, Mother Nature, Mother Earth. She's in a kind of trance of unconsciousness, this trance of matter. In her cosmic trance, her universal trance, she's doing some work. She's exploiting, making use of infinity's sanction to the birth of form. Something in the transcendent realm, the realm of eternity and infinity, has said yes to sanction something. It's a strange word. It can mean to say yes, or it can mean to say no. But anyway, here it means to say yes. Infinity sanction. Something in the transcendent realm has said, yes, all this formlessness can become form. And the dumb great mother, the creative material power, is given the work of producing those forms. So she accepts this work indomitably. If somebody is indomitable, they will never give in to defeat. They will always persist until they've succeeded. So she, the dumb great mother, accepts indomitably to execute, to carry out. And then there's a list of things that she's accepted to do. She's accepted to execute the will to know in an inconscient world. It's like a kind of contradiction. How can there be knowledge in a world where there's no consciousness? This is one of the impossible things she has decided, she has agreed to do. To create, to bring about the will to know in an inconscient world. The will to live under a reign of death. If we think about the material world, the purely material universe, it seems dead compared to our living planet. The universe, the purely material universe, seems to be dominated by non-living matter. But somehow, in all that non-living matter, has arisen the will to live. And we have a world, our earth, is full of living forms. So that's the second impossible thing she has accepted to do. And the third thing is the thirst, the longing for rapture, for bliss, for intense delight in a heart of flesh. How come that this material heart that we have, it's just a lump of meat, how come that it can feel bliss, intense delight? It's also something amazing. So these three things she has done, and she is still doing. She's working out through the appearance of a soul. There's not only mind and life and body, there's also a soul inhabiting this universe. And this soul has appeared by a miraculous birth in plasm and gas. If we go back to the beginning of the universe, matter, the way we know it, didn't exist. There was a kind of soup of atoms forming plasm, the most primitive form of material substance, and gas. Out of these primitive forms of matter, all this amazing universe has arisen. So there's been a birth of a soul in this material universe. And through this, the mother is working out the mystery of God's covenant with the night. A covenant means a binding agreement, a promise, an agreement. God, the divine, seems to have made an agreement with his very opposite, with the night of unconsciousness and falsehood, darkness of all kinds. If we think back to the very beginning of the universe, whatever we can learn about it, there was no light. I don't know how long they say it took for light, for photons to appear in the material universe, but quite a long time. It wasn't right at the beginning. So when Aswapati is seeing all this, the next person must read, Philomena. Once more.
The eternal's promise to his laboring force, inducing the whole passion to begin. And the cry of birth into mortality, and the opening verse of the drafting of time.
Yes. Once more was heard. Aswapati hears it. It has happened before, at the very beginning of the creation. Now Aswapati hears it happening again. Once more was heard in the still, quiet mind of the universe the promise that was made by the eternal, the infinite, the transcendent being. He made a promise to his laboring force, the mother, the creative mother. He made her a promise, and with that promise, the world passion began, that induced, that gave the starting point to the world passion. This word passion, we come across it many times in the poem. It means basically intense feeling. But it can also be used for a kind of drama. There are passion plays that tell of deep suffering or deep delight. So it's as if this whole universe is acting out a drama of intense feeling. And all this has started because the Eternal has made a promise to his partner, to the Supreme Divine Mother. And when this drama began, it was like a baby being born. When a baby is born, we expect to hear a cry. We listen for that cry that, oh, the child has been born, it's alive. So something like that happened, a cry of birth. But what kind of birth was it? It was a birth into mortality, into this world which is dominated by death. Mortality, that it means we have to die. And he says, this cry of birth, it was also like the opening verse of a great drama. There are two different kinds of drama traditionally. There are comedies which make you laugh or which have happy endings, and there are tragedies which make you feel deep grief and have unhappy endings. So he says the tragedy of time, it's not only a passion play, an intense drama, it seems to have an unhappy ending. There's a lot of suffering in it. Will you read?
Out of the death, the world's buried secret rose. He read the original
Ukas.
Ukas kept back in the locked archives of the scribe's script, and saw the signature and the fiery seal of wisdom and the dim powers who prepare, who builds in ignorance the step of light.
Thank you. Aswapati sees out of the depths of things the world's buried secret rising up. It reveals itself to him, the buried secret of the universe. And he's able to read this original ukaz. An ukaz, it's a Russian word. It means a command, a command from the very highest authority that you can't question. So there's this command that has been made at the beginning, but it hasn't been revealed. It's been kept back. It's written down in the locked archives of the Spirit's crypt. An archive is a place where we collect all kinds of documents, and they may be kept locked to be preserved. No? So it's as if Aswapati is being shown this command that was made at the very beginning of the universe, but it's been kept secret in this secret place, the archives of the Spirit's crypt. A crypt is a secret, sacred place in the foundations of a sacred building. So that's where these important archives are kept. And when he sees that ukas, he sees that it has a signature on it and a seal. A person who's got great authority will have a seal of some kind. Nowadays we have rubber stamps. It used to be that kings had very beautiful rings with carved gemstones, and they would put it into wax and then seal it. So everybody knows that the king has put his seal. He has said yes to this. No? So he sees that something or someone has said yes. He sees the signature and the fiery seal of wisdom. The divine wisdom with a capital W has put its seal and said yes to the work of the dim power. Not a power that's full of light and force, but a dim, dark, vague power. That power works concealed. It is hooded. We can't see who is working or what they are doing. That power builds in ignorance, in our state of half knowing, not knowing, a little bit of knowledge and a lot of ignorance, of not knowing. But this power, there's a power which we can't see clearly, which in our ignorance or in the ignorance of the world is building the steps of light. One by one, more and more steps of light will be built. Patricia.
A sleeping deity opened deathless eyes. He saw the unshaped thought in soulless forms, new matter pregnant with spiritual sense. Mind dare the study of the unknowable. Life, its gestation of the golden child.
It's as if he sees a God who is sleeping. Mother has spoken about this experience of going deep, deep down into the inconscient and finding there a being sleeping, radiating light. And she says that when she stood at the door of the cave and looked at it, it opened its eyes. A sleeping deity. We see wonderful sculptures of Lord Vishnu lying, sleeping, or Lord Buddha sleeping. So it was something like that that she saw. It opened its eyes. So Asvapati has a similar experience. A sleeping deity opened deathless eyes. It's not a human being. This is a being that cannot die. And when that happens, Asvapati sees some aspects of the future. He saw the unshaped thought in soulless forms. Forms that don't seem to have life or mind or soul. And yet, they're carrying within them a formless a possibility of thought, unshaped thought. He knows, or he really realizes that what we think of as unconscious matter is actually pregnant. It's ready to give birth to spiritual sense, spiritual meaning. He sees that our limited, ignorant mind has the potentiality to try to study what is unknowable beyond the limitations of our knowledge. And he sees that life is also pregnant. Gestation is the period of pregnancy. Life is pregnant too. Life is going to give birth to the golden child, the divine child. Do you want to read?
In the light, flooding thoughts blank vacancy, interpreting the universe by soul science, he read from within the text of the without. The riddle grew plain and lost its catch obscure.
Yes. So, in Asvapati's consciousness, all thought has become empty. There's a blank vacancy, and his consciousness is flooded with light. And through this light, or by the use of that light, he's able to interpret this universe, not by outer appearances, but by soul signs, inner indications. And that enables him to read from within, not from outer appearances, but from the inner meaning, the text of the without, this book that is written, this book of the universe, all these outer signs. He can read that mysterious book and understand it. For him, for King Asvapati, the riddle, the mystery of the universe suddenly becomes obvious. He can understand its meaning. It lost its catch obscure. In a riddle, there's often a catch, no? That suggests a meaning to you, but that's not the real meaning. It's a catch. The riddle grew plain to him. It loses its mystery, its secret. Tara, would you read?
The larger luster with the mighty page, appearance mingled with the wings of time, a meaning met the stamping base of checks, and fate revealed a chain of seeing air. A conscious brightness filled the old dark space. In the world he saw strong
So a larger luster. Luster is light. A wider, brighter, deeper light lights up the page of the universe. And he sees that although a lot of what happens in time seems to be just by chance, by whim. A whim is something that you just do without any meaning. He sees that there's a purpose, meaning, filling the whims of time. It's one of the really important things that we can realize in our life, that this universe is not meaningless, that its development and its happenings, they have purpose and direction. So he sees that clearly, that there's a purpose, mixing in with what seems to be all the chance happenings of time. There's a meaning behind all the stumbling paces of chance, the stumbling steps, the things that happen and you think, oh, that shouldn't have happened. But everything has a meaning. And he sees that fate is what seems to be fixed and we can't do anything about it, no? But this fate that seems to be fixed by circumstances that nobody can change, he sees that in fact this apparent fate, destiny, is made up of a chain of conscious decisions, a chain of seeing will. Each link in the chain, each step towards the final outcome has been consciously decided. He looks at the universe that used to be just a big empty space that couldn't express itself in any way. Now he sees that it's filled with a conscious wideness. It's full of a being, a conscious being, vast. And in the void, in the emptiness of space, he saw, as if sitting on a throne, the omniscience supreme. Omniscience, all knowledge, the one who knows everything. Omniscience. He sees the Lord seated there, directing the whole universe. So this is a very important experience for King Aswapati. It's coming as a result of the revelation to him of the secret knowledge that comes in Canto 4. And it will lead on to the rest of his quest. The fact that he has this experience lays the foundation for all the rest of his quest, which continues right up to the middle of the book, the end of book 3. So we'll stop there for now.
The dumb great mother in her cosmic trance, exploiting for creation's joy and pain infinity's sanction to the birth of form, accepts indomitably to execute the will to know in an inconscient world, the will to live under a reign of death, the thirst for rapture in a heart of flesh, and works out through the appearance of a soul by a miraculous birth in plasm and gas, the mystery of God's covenant with the night. Once more was heard in the still cosmic mind the Eternal's promise to his labouring force, inducing the world passion to begin, the cry of birth into mortality, and the opening verse of the tragedy of time. Out of the depths the world's buried secret rose. He read the original UKs kept back in the locked archives of the spirit's crypt, and saw the signature and fiery seal of wisdom on the dim power's hooded work, who builds in ignorance the steps of light. A sleeping deity opened deathless eyes. He saw the unshaped thought in soulless forms, new matter pregnant with spiritual sense. Mind dare the study of the unknowable, life its gestation of the golden child. In the light, flooding thought's blank vacancy, interpreting the universe by soul signs, he read from within the text of the without. The riddle grew plain and lost its catch obscure. A larger lustre lit the mighty page. A purpose mingled with the whims of time. A meaning met the stumbling pace of chance, and fate revealed a chain of seeing will. A conscious wideness filled the old dumb space. In the void he saw throned the omniscience supreme.